Honestly, I can't wait for the day Black Americans will say every single immigrant should pack out of America. I can't wait for that day because some immigrants are so ungrateful. They are so ungrateful. They are so ungrateful to the point that sometimes I imagine how they are able to set camera and say some of the things that they say. Just imagine an immigrant that is surviving in America, enjoying the fruits, the labor of Black Americans, have the rights, the audacity, the temerity, the effrontery to say this out of his mouth. Said it widely without even considering anybody's opinion. To add it up, he have that time and ability to answer every single person that is trying to come in supporting Black Americans. This is why Black Americans do not have immigrants' time anymore. This is why Black Americans have said we're not helping anybody. Let's just be on our own. Let's just do our thing. Be it you're an African immigrant or not African immigrant. I'm African as well, but I can never support something like this. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. With that being said, let's go watch. I'll be back with commentaries.
Black Americans have a recorded tendency of throwing rocks and hiding their hands and then playing victim when they're called out for their lack of education as Americans, not as Black people, but as Americans. So I remember when Black Americans were referring to African braiders as the Africans, saying the Africans played in my hair, then African people were saying, we actually don't like when you refer to us using the term Africans because it feels a bit derogatory in the tone and the way in which you're using it feels derogatory, to which Black Americans like, it's never been derogatory before, how is it derogatory? And it became a whole thing. And then Africans had to explain to Americans how referring to them as the Africans and African braiding shops can be seen as derogatory to some people, and had to explain African identity, especially how it's perceived in America and the reason to why that is offensive. I remember another time there were videos where Black Americans were trying African food and made like a massive show of showing how disgusting they found it and how gross it was. Africans responded to that by saying, you guys eat soul food, which fine, mean, whatever, talking about how soul food is unhealthy. And then Black Americans replied talking about that's so disrespectful, you don't know the history of the food, you don't know like the history of slavery, this, that, the other, we had to eat this, we had no choice. But did you not think about the history of the African dishes which Black Americans were disrespecting? What? There was another time where Black Americans said that Black British people eat disgusting British food, which is horrific, and this and that and the other, talking about beans on toast, full English breakfast and roasts and some other like mashed potatoes and random stuff like that, to which Black British people explained, you don't have a clear understanding of Blackness in the UK because most Black people in the UK are from Afro-Caribbean descent, meaning that we eat our home country's meals mostly, but we also do enjoy British food. And then again, we were talking about, well, you guys have soul food for breakfast. And then once again, it's Black Americans are now the victims because we're being racist when you were the first ones that came and talked about our food. Another time, Black Americans, or Americans in general, actually, I don't think it was just Black Americans, but Americans in general, saying how disgusting Chinese takeaway looks and how racist it is to call a Chinese takeaway a Chinese, to which Asians or East Asians living in the UK, specifically Chinese people living in the UK, had to then reply saying how racist it was to call that food disgusting when Chinese immigrants that came to the UK and made Chinese takeaways had to create that food as a means of survival to cater to the British taste, and to call it disgusting was really kind of like xenophobic and showed a complete disregard or misunderstanding of UK, like East Asian experiences. There is another example, woman. Now with this Black Scottish thing, every Black person across the world, seemingly outside of America, seems to understand how migration patterns work. So what Black people globally are explaining is that as opposed to slavery, where Black people were forcibly moved to the Americas, and then specifically in the USA after slavery was abolished, although most Black people lived in the South, there were very specific hotspots where it was mainly safe for Black people to live, and so Black Americans mainly congregated in those spaces. Those aren't how migration patterns work for all different groups of Black people. And so most other Black people understand that whilst slavery migration patterns happen in a very specific way, so it's normal for Black people to be shocked that Black people live outside of those hotspots for Black Americans. When Africans and Afro-Caribbeans migrate, they sometimes migrate to hotspots, but Africans don't also all have an understanding of where is safe, where isn't safe, where is white, where is Black, or even have a care, because that's not a part of their history of like having to, like if you live in Africa and you're moving to the UK or you're moving to any other country, you might not necessarily know how good or bad racism is in any one specific place, so you can move anywhere. Most Black people outside of America, or most like Afro-Caribbean people understand the fact that you will have family in the most random places. Like one of my mum's best friends lives in fucking Oman. And I know I have cousins that live all across the world. So it's not surprising, shocking, exciting for us to find out that black people live in different countries, because we know that, because we have an understanding of how Afro-Caribbean migration patterns work, which is that they're pretty sporadic. Versus black Americans don't seem to have an understanding as to how Afro-Caribbean migration patterns work, which is why they would be excited or surprised or shocked that those people exist. And regardless of whether or not certain groups of black people come up on my For You page, I wouldn't be excited, because it's just general knowledge. Like, it's not about an education system, it's not about school systems failing. General knowledge of how Afro-Caribbean like migration patterns work is why people outside of America aren't shocked to find out that black people live in Scotland. So I think that sums everything up. But once again, black British people weren't even being rude. We were just saying, oh, like, why are you surprised? And then black Americans are saying we're now shitting on them, or whatever was being said, that we're showing hatefulness, that we don't let them have a fun time. It's funny to us that that's not a general point of knowledge, that black people exist everywhere. Or like there's no need to be excited. And this is not to say that I don't think black Scottish people should get their shine, they 100% should, but like, it's not surprising. But black Americans are also denying or refusing to acknowledge the fact that in that discussion, a lot of them were saying that they believed black Scottish people to be aboriginal to Scotland, that they didn't want black Scottish people to let Africans steal everything that they have, and that they're so much nicer than black British people, when technically, in terms of nationality, black Scottish people are black British, even if they don't identify as that. And yeah, black Scottish people and black British people do have different cultures. But black Americans don't understand that. They weren't talking about that. They were just talking about the fact they were just trying to create a divide in some weird like triangulation tactic to separate black Brits and black Scots, when black Scots are black Brits by nationality. So there are so many other examples of where black Americans, like the Tyler situation, they insert themselves into someone else's area, place, blackness, identity, and then when they're corrected and it's explained that they have a lack of education and understanding and knowledge because they are American, not because they're black, because they're American, then now they're the victims. And it's a constant thing. And this constant fight to make us talking about how uneducated black Americans are about blackness is really dangerous, because it is implying that the issue is blackness when it's not, it's Americanness. And it's like you're becoming the first defenders for American exceptionalism. Why are you defending that? No black British person is going to defend like poor British values, which black Brits also hold. Because we understand the negative values that we hold of Brits, and we talk about them and we discuss them, and we're happy to be called out on them. Elitism, sure. Like being grumpy, sure. Being mean, sure. Complaining, sure. Like all those things are very true. We would never deny them. So the denial that black Americans are under is really like, it shows a lack of willingness to progress. Yeah, I think I've said everything.
Across this app, I keep seeing people ask Black Americans, what have immigrants ever done to you? So here's the truth, because we are not going to keep pretending immigrants are automatically innocent just because supremacy is the bigger villain. Yes, immigration has caused harm to the Black American community. Not every immigrant, not only immigrant, and not always with intent, but measurable harm has happened. Economically, many employers have chosen immigrant labor at lower wages instead of hiring Black workers at fair wages. That choice has reduced opportunities for Black workers in the job sectors where we have historically been concentrated. That is a harm. Politically, as immigrant populations grew, major parties shifted their promises, their attention, and resources toward new voting blocs. The Black agenda has been repeatedly deprioritized as politicians calculate numbers rather than loyalty. That is harm. Culturally, Black American creativity has been used globally as a resource, while Black Americans are erased as origin. At the same time, many immigrants adopt negative stereotypes about Black Americans when they arrive, because they learn quickly that distancing from us provides social benefits in this system. That is a harm. Geographically, the pattern is the same across multiple cities. Long-standing Black neighborhoods lost their population share and cultural control as new communities with greater economic leverage moved in. Gentrification and repopulation, and both resulted in Black displacement. That is a harm. Socially, immigrants did not enter a neutral landscape. They entered a country with an existing racial order that rewards those who rise above Black Americans, whether conscious or not. Many participated in that reward structure. That is a harm. And the only reason this conversation is treated like a taboo is because Black Americans are allowed to blame supremacy, but not allowed to acknowledge lateral harm from anyone else. We are allowed to hurt. We are just not allowed to name who contributed to the harm unless the answer is people. That is not hate. That is not xenophobia. That is not jealousy. It is displacement layered on top of sacrifice. Black Americans built what we built under terror and brutality, and everyone else arrived and benefited from that foundation. And when we say protect our share, protect our identity, protect our cultural space, we are told we do not get to decide. That is a harm. No one is asking immigrants to leave this country. Well, some people are, but I'm not. Not all of us are. No one is asking immigrants to undo history or carry guilt for what they didn't personally do. What is being asked, and has always been asked, is simple. Acknowledge the part you play in continuing the harm, whether you meant to or not. This has always been about accountability and acknowledgement. If accountability feels like an attack, ask yourself why you're willing to abandon being the harmed class in your own country just to become part of the system that harms us in this one.
I'm going to tell you what's wrong with black people in America. I had the privilege of, when leaving Jamaica, I came to an all-white school in America for like 2-3 years. Then I went to an all-black school, right, in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and I quickly realized what the fucking problem was at a young age with black Americans. They have a powerful victim mindset that was installed by the government. Let me tell you why. So they bring you into school and they teach you that black history is slave history, which is wrong. Black history is not slave history. That's the problem. So you're automatically being taught at a young age that you are owed something, that your people aren't shit, your ancestors aren't shit, when they really were. They were kings and queens in Africa. But they brought them over here and created a new history, and now that history is fucking your brains up towards black history. That's not really a black history. That's a small part of black history was a slave history here in America. Okay? So that victim mindset is destroying the black community, and gangster rap music is destroying
It gets to a point. A Jamaican immigrant sitting up here talking about, oh, I'm going to tell you it's destroying the black community. It's the gangster rap. And they have a victim mindset because of slavery. Fuck the notion that that is the only thing that the goddamn government has taught us, or that's the only thing that we know of our history. Do you know what happened in the 1900s? Y'all give Native Americans so much blood clot grace because, oh, their land was stolen. Y'all don't think that millions of acres of fucking farmland was stolen from us? Our communities were flooded way after slavery was abolished. So they do owe us something. They paying the Israelis, them motherfuckers is getting payouts from our goddamn taxes. The Jewish community has gotten reparations. Asian people got some fucking reparations, and they got a hate crime bill. Hell, people that own slaves got reparations, yet we don't deserve it. That's why y'all are fucking dangerous, and you need to mind your blood clot business. Well, let's take a look at what's going on with the music and the culture over in Jamaica. Hold on, I'll be right back.
In 2015, Jamaica signed over the Kingston Freeport, our main port, our lifeline to China, who has full control for 30 years. Now they control what comes in and they control what goes out. That's why the Chinese mechanics and other companies move the way they want. No one to answer to. No real checks. No oversight. They're on the port, they hold the gate. Why do you think it's after the fact Pika stepped in? Because they don't even know what's going on. But somebody know. Because when it comes to these little things, don't think you can think on the same level you were programmed to think on. You have to change your frequency sometimes. And we're standing on the outside of our own house. We can't even act like we never know. Listen, we will never get out of slavery. Because a nation that can't even control its own port is a nation already conquered.
So I was just watching this video, y'all, where it was a woman, a guy was interviewing this woman. This woman is from Jamaica, right? And she says, I'm not speaking for me, but there are a lot of Jamaicans who feel that Black Americans complain a lot. we look and we see, oh, they have opportunities, they can get jobs, they can afford, a $1 burger, which that was forever ago. That was like in the 90s when burgers cost $1. And so we just think that Black Americans complain a lot, and this is something that I've heard from like a lot of different immigrant communities. And here's what I think about that. I think that America is a dream in comparison to a lot of countries. Okay, a lot of countries, they're in their home countries and they're making like $2 an hour, right? Which is freaking unheard of in America. I mean, not really, because still in some states minimum wage is like $7.50, right? Which is really not enough to live on. Like, America has areas of extreme poverty. Okay, and then we have like the middle class, we have the upper, middle class, and then we have like the wealthy people, right? But what I don't think that people understand, Caribbeans, Africans, and even Latinos as well, about America is that I'm gonna use an analogy. If you see a relationship, right, and you say, oh, that woman, she cooks, she cleans, for him, she's a good looking woman, etc., etc., but you don't go home and see that she verbally abuses him and she tears him down and she puts her hands on him when nobody's looking. You just look at the Instagram pictures, right? You just look at the TikTok videos where you see them on a trip to Barbados, and it looks nice, right? On the flip side, if it's a woman who's being abused by a man, you say, oh my gosh, they have such a great marriage. She married her. Look, they're dancing together. They're having a good time. He bought her a Birkin bag, and he took her here, he took her there. But you don't see that he's grabbing her by her hair and dragging her down the stairs, and blacking her eye and kicking her in the ribs. Okay, because for whatever reason, right? Right. So when it comes to immigrants coming to America, y'all do not know the whole Black American story, nor do y'all know the history, nor do y'all understand or know the politics of of America in general. What Black Americans are talking about is unfairness. Okay? We're talking about things that are unfair, right? And I would say that I'm going to try to find a way to make this relatable. You have a sibling, right? It's you and it's your sister or your brother. And your mom comes home, right? Your mom and your dad, they come home and they constantly give things to your sister or brother. They constantly give them extra food. They give them extra money. When they ask to go somewhere, they say, yeah, you can go there. It's perfectly fine. They never yell at them. They never hit them. They never mistreat them. They never make them stand at the wall and face the wall. They never do any of that. When they make a mistake or something like that, your parents are very understanding of the mistakes that they make. But when it comes to you and you do something, your parents give you less than they give that sibling, right? And your parents beat you, right? They hit you, they yell at you, they scream at you, they call you all kinds of names. Would you be okay with that, or would you complain and say, well, oh, there's nothing for me to complain about because I have a roof over my head. At least they gave me some food. They didn't give me as much food as they gave my sibling, but at least they gave me something. They don't give me as nice of clothes as they give my sibling, but at least I have clothes to wear. Would you be okay with that? How long do you think you would be okay with that before you start saying, what the heck is going on here? Why are you treating me this way? You don't treat my sibling like that. We come from the same place. We both come from you guys. We have the same parents. Why you treat me like this? You don't treat them like that. How long would you tolerate that? How long would you tolerate that? Be honest. Be honest. Caribbeans, Africans, Latinos, be honest. How long would you tolerate that? And yes, you can work hard and you can work your way up to the top and you can eventually move out of your parents' house, right? And you can move and you can be on your own, right? That's how y'all view when you achieve the American dream. Yes, you have to go through all that and you might have to work a little harder, but if you work harder, you can do it. Yes, you can do it, but should you? Is it fair for you to have a much more difficult time of achieving the American dream when you see a person that's right next to you that gets a complete pass. They get a whole breeze. People, the red carpet is just rolled out for them of accessing the American dream. Is it fair? Is it fair for you as an immigrant person to have to clean toilets and do all of this stuff, and you see someone who does not have to do any of that? Is that fair? Is that fair? Is it fair for you to see someone who has all of this privilege and you just don't have access to that because of what you look like? Is that fair? Is that fair? So no, Black Americans do not complain. Black Americans are not complaining. Black Americans are marching for justice and fighting for freedom and fighting for equality. The same way that our elders fought for equality for y'all to have civil rights. For y'all to come here and not be in the Jim Crow segregation in South that existed in the 1950s. Okay? The same way that our ancestors and elders fought for us to not even be in slavery. Okay? If it was not for Black Americans complaining, nobody would be able to come here and have shit. That's the truth. And until y'all understand that, y'all will never understand Black American people. Okay? Have a good day. And let me say, I do come from a middle class, upper middle class family. And I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. And even I noticed it wasn't fair. Money doesn't make things equal. Money shows you even more how unfair shit actually is. Have a good day.
So I noticed that whenever Black Americans have a conversation and they bring it to people's attention that we literally fought and some of us unalived for the rights that a lot of people come to this country to enjoy, there's always a facet of people in the comments saying things like, y'all act like all y'all were out there protesting. Y'all act like all of y'all were Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. Not all Black people were out there protesting. Y'all really just try to take credit for what everybody else was doing. First of all, I know that you got that talking point from the Boondocks. Okay, I watched the Boondocks too. Secondly, I've always hated that aspect of the Boondocks because for me, that was all I needed to see to know that the creator of the Boondocks was raised by a white woman. Because there's no way if you were raised by a Black woman in a Black household that you would come away thinking that the only Black people who really participated or did anything was the ones who showed up at the protests. Because my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my mother have countless stories of them squaring up in the streets against white people, running home from white boys in pickup trucks, having to square up with white women at the office, having to advocate for themselves at the local grocery store or the butcher's market when they were trying to overcharge them or make them pay the Black tax. There are countless ways that every single Black American person was fighting against racism in their everyday lived lives. You guys have no idea the terror that we lived under. You guys have no idea the abuses that we experienced on a day-to-day basis. Not even being able to walk out your house and look around, gotta look down because God forbid you make the wrong face at a white person. That could send you to jail or have you strung up from a tree. Y'all watch these stories and see these movies and y'all think that happened to a few of us. Y'all don't realize that happened to a lot of us. Little Ruby Bridges was not the only Black person to desegregate schools. Hell, my mom desegregated schools. She's 51. And she was one of the first Black girls to go to her high school. She had to deal with them throwing bananas at her in the hallway, making monkey noises at her. She ended up getting expelled from 3 different high schools because she was not about to let these white people bully her. So I'm saying all this to say, Black Americans, we've never had to be out there on the front lines protesting to be fighting for everybody's rights. We fight against white supremacy hand in hand in our real lived lives. Okay? So miss me with the, oh, y'all all not Martin Luther King. Oh, y'all not all protesting. Y'all can shut that shit on right on up. And furthermore, who are you to even say that? You're not even Black American to be even questioning that. Stay in y'all lane.
Bro, Black folk love acting like police is just targeting them just because they Black. You really think that just because your skin color, that somebody is out here looking for you? Looking for you. Bruh, you wake up every single day, you get inside your car, you drive to work, you do your job, you get off of work, you drive to the grocery store, you buy food for your family, you get back in your car, you get home, you feed your family, you go to sleep, you wake up and you do it all over again. And throughout that whole process, nigga, you ain't thought about the police killing you at all. But you want to sit up here and act like we got this crazy mass epidemic and genocide against the black man. Nigga, if you're worried about the black man, you need to be worried about what's going on in the black community right now. It's people that look like you that are killing people that look like you. And what are you doing about it besides on the internet, on other people's pages that's actually doing something about it, offering a goddamn opinion that ain't edifying at all? It's not bettering anything at all. If anything, you're just showing the world how ignorant you are to the truth of what's really going on. And a lot of y'all need to do this with your mouth. Put your damn lips together, bro, because you don't have anything of substance to offer anything or anybody. So until I see you inside these juvenile detention centers, speaking with these kids, until I see you inside the hood itself, throwing your own personal events and feeding the homeless and giving money to the poor, until I see you out here actually being an active member in society, doing something to bring about change, I'm going to need you to close your goddamn mouth, nigga. You feel me? You're not doing nothing but trying to offer an opinion because you're played by the system. So I don't expect you to give anything but what you got. You're brainwashed.
So she asks, I just need to know, are there certain black people who just don't like us because we're white? But you think that me talking about history is playing victim. We talking about real shit that actually happened. This is why it's so hard and why we waste our time talking to racist people. Because they act like they slow, or maybe they just are for real. Especially when you realize a lot of them already know what's up, but they just try to act like they don't understand or comprehend what you're saying so they can stick to their bullshit narrative. Out of everything that I said in that video, all you heard is me playing victim. First of all, y'all asked the questions trying to play victim. But to even answer the question is playing victim somehow. Y'all be annoying as fuck with that. It's just like the Proud Boys. They proud about being racist. As soon as you call them out, that's reverse racism. Y'all motherfuckers are not proud of who you are, but you desperate to be that way. I just don't understand it. Not only do we have to deal with the bullshit, but when you acknowledge it, that's a problem as well. Some of y'all really just need to get a life, because if y'all wasn't so desperate to be racist and worry about black people so much, we wouldn't have to talk about it at all. Y'all would never hear from us ever again. I promise you that. But as long as y'all want to keep going, we're going to keep going. Subscribe to my YouTube, Planet Reality.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching till this point. And you guys can literally hear what this guy said. Black Americans like claiming victimhood, you know. This is not only coming from this immigrant guy. I've also seen different immigrants say a lot of things, saying, oh, Black Americans love to play the victims. Black Americans love to play the pity party part. Black Americans love to play the role where people need to cry, where people need to... I don't know where all of that is coming from, to be honest. If not for anything, Black Americans are the only group that paved way for you to be in America. If not for only thing, at least respect that particular effort. If not for anything, at least it's not going to bad if you're saying thank you. So I don't know why it is difficult. Instead of appreciating Black Americans, what immigrants now do is set camera and then they will not add it up to that they are sharing their experience. They're sharing their experience. Black Americans love to claim this, they love to claim that. That's not sharing experience. That's hypocrisy. As far as I'm concerned, that's hypocrisy. If not hypocrisy, with every single thing that this group have been through, even if now they are giving every single immigrant the worst parts, I think everybody should respect that. And these are the kind of people that make Black Americans to be like, we're not doing anything again. We're not coming out for anybody. Because no matter how we do come out, these people are still not going to respect us. These people are still not going to understand our feelings. So it is very okay when Black Americans are coming out for people. It is very okay when Black Americans are showing up. It is very okay when Black Americans decide to stand. But it is not okay from you to support their little efforts. For crying out loud, this war has been through segregation, Jim Crow, redlinings, name it. This war have been through slavery. As a normal human being in your own house, there is how you'll be stressed to the point that you will get frustrated. In your own house, let's be sincere. There's how you will be stressed that every single thing around you, you are pissed. In your own house. Talk more of you going through a lot in the hands of people. And even till date, Black Americans are still going through a lot in the hands of immigrants. UK immigrants, Canadian immigrants, African immigrants, name it. From every single part. Why is it that every single person will wake up one morning, the first race they want to attack is Black American, especially to those ones that are living in America, enjoying the fruits and labor of Black Americans? Why? At first, I was thinking it's a thing whereby maybe they will just talk and then keep quiet. But it has gotten to that point where we just need to call a spade a spade. Can you guys just let these people breathe? Can you just leave Black Americans alone? Can you just understand that these people do not want to be disturbed? They just want to survive. They just want to breathe. And I don't think that is difficult to ask. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For that, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.